My name's Colin, and this is my channel, the Yay Nay or Meh channel. And while I am from Bath in the southwest of England, you currently find me in Bristol because I'm about to watch the first two of three films I'm going to see at the touring programme of the London Film Festival here at the Watershed Cinema in Bristol. Tonight I'm going to be watching It Was Just an Accident by Jafar Panahi, which I have been looking forward to for so long, and indeed I have also been looking forward to Begonia by Yorgos Lanthimos, which is the second film I will be seeing tonight. And next Saturday I will be watching Hamnet, which suddenly seems like the front runner for Best Picture. So yeah, that screening next Saturday evening will be after I've already watched my first two films at the Film Bath Festival. So yes, it's very, very busy, and in the next couple of weeks I'm making trips to Cambridge, Manchester and Leeds to watch festival films. I'm planning on doing field recorded reviews for all of these festival trips. So yes, I am in Bristol, and in fact I am in Queen's Square in Bristol, which is a pleasant little place. It's a nice open space for people to see, but yeah, it's also rather historic. I mean, I chose this specific bench to sit on because that building behind me with the scaffolding on, unfortunately with the scaffolding on it, in 1792 that building is on the site of the first official consulate of the fledgling United States. So that building has some historical significance. And I mean, I think it's important to notice that Bristol was the second city in England to get official state presence from the fledgling United States, because Bristol was a very, very important port city. It was also a city which was very, very much involved in the slave trade, so that might have something to do with why the United States chose to make their consulate here. Yes, this is a rather pleasant open area, but it wasn't so pleasant in 1831. Because Queen Square in 1831 was the site of a couple of nights of severe rioting, which were related to the failure of the Second Great Reform Act, which eventually passed, but the second time they tried, it was a failure and people rioted. I mean, basically it was about fair representation, trying to get the power out of the rich and the landed gentry and try and give people, ordinary working class people, the vote and give them a say in politics. And isn't it such a relief that in the nearly 200 years since those riots in 1831, letting that car go past, because one of the quaint things about Queen Square is it is still cobbled. But yes, isn't it great that in 1831 those things got solved, and we don't have any problems like that at all nowadays, do we? But yes, I really like coming here to Queen Square. It's a nice place to sit, and it's a very short walk to the Watershed Cinema. So yeah, so I thought, as well as starting these field recorded reviews, I'd give you a little bit of a history lesson of things that I find interesting. And I actually think it's quite cool that that building behind me is the site of the very first United States consulate in 1792. So yes, I will be back. I think I'm going to have enough time between the two films to record again. I'll probably just have to nip out the back of the Watershed, so it's not going to be nearly as pleasant, but yes, I will see you shortly with my review of It Was Just an Accident. Right, so it's now after my screening of It Was Just an Accident, and I'm currently stood behind the Watershed next to a reasonably busy road, and I'm going to have to figure out later if this is too much noise, but yes, I do have just enough time to record my thoughts about Jafar Panahi's It Was Just an Accident. And yeah, that was powerful stuff. The one phrase that kept coming to mind was that old saying, I think it was Lao Tzu, something along the lines of, if you want to take revenge, dig 2 graves. Because that's ultimately what this is. I mean, very impulsively, this guy says, this is the guy who tortured me, I'm going to kidnap him, take him to the desert and bury him alive. And then that niggle of doubt comes in, and he needs to be sure, because he's a good guy. I mean, he's demonstrably a good guy. There are things one specific thing he does in this film which is above and beyond the call. Only a decent person, a good person, would do that, and he did it. So we know he is a good person, and yet he has been greatly damaged by what was done to him, by the torture he suffered, and the other people who eventually become part of this story, because a large chunk of this film is kind of a comedy of errors. I mean, the first guy, he's not sure, so he goes to his friend, can you help me, can you tell if he's the guy? I mean, I don't want to get involved, but go to this person, and she's taking wedding photography for somebody who might also know who it is. I mean, that's why one of the people in all of the major images that have been in the publicity images that have been released for this film involve somebody in a wedding dress, because they happen to be taking wedding photography and they happen to be wearing the wedding dress, and they might know who this guy is, so they come along as well, and then more and more people get added to the list, including one guy who's just utterly consumed by rage. I mean, to the extent that he starts to question everybody around him. Oh, you're probably working for the regime, aren't you? I mean, even though you've got us into this mess, you're probably working for the regime, aren't you? I mean, he's just consumed by paranoia and revenge, and that's kind of what has happened to these people, all of these people. It's very much that thing of deciding to take revenge and even taking revenge, but even the concept of taking revenge is not all that common, and it shouldn't be all that common. So the fact that you've decided to take that step, I mean, everybody in this film asks this guy, are you sure? What are you going to do if you know for sure this is the guy? What are you going to do? What's the end game here? And honestly, I don't think he really knows, and that's kind of the point. It's masterfully put together. I mean, because there's definitely sort of like a comedy of errors. I mean, the mounting, this person gets added to group, this person gets added to group, this person gets added to group, and they've all got slightly different things, and they're all just going together. And then this crazy extra thing happens where they prove, well, the main guy over here proves that he's a good guy, a decent guy, and the other people have to go along with him. It does have its comedic moments, but equally at every stage, absolutely throughout the course of this film, we are constantly reminded, constantly told the things that happened to these people, the things that were done to them, the permanent life-altering damage, physical damage and mental damage that has been done to these people. We are always reminded of that. Jafar Panahi is very, very careful to make sure we know that these are damaged people. But there are comedic moments, and then the ending of the film. I mean, There's one very, very long single take which is brilliant. It's one of the best scenes of dialogue that I think I've seen in a film this year. I mean, I think the best scene of 2025 is the I Lied to You scene in Sinners, probably closely followed by the dance sequence in The Life of Chuck, the only good bit of that movie in my opinion. But the best scene of dialogue I think might be one of the final scenes of It Was Just an Accident, and then the very final scene that'll stay with you. Letting the police cars go by. But yeah, this is a great piece of work, and I understand why it won the Palm. I mean, yes, it was a political statement, but it also happens to be a really, really good film. Yeah. France has submitted it, and I'm still not 100% sure, 100% convinced that the Academy, that AMPAS, will accept that this is a French film. The official list from the Academy hasn't been released yet, but when and if that is released, I'm not 100% sure it'll be accepted, but if it is, I think this is a definite contender. I mean, obviously, it's got to fight sentimental value and, increasingly, I think, no other choice. The Korean film, Park Chan-wook, seems like a film to pay attention to. So, yeah. I think this is great. I mean, yeah, I may as well give this a yay now on my rating, and this is 100% a yay. It's a really, really good film. And yeah, I think that's it. And I better go back upstairs and get ready for Begonia. Right, so you now find me in Queen Square in Bath. Immediately following my screening of Begonia, I had to get on a bus back to Bath. It's getting rather late in the day. It's about 11:30 at night, and since I'm in Bath, I thought it would have a nice symmetry if I recorded in Queen Square in Bath. Yes, hello boy racer. I really am going to have to check the traffic noise. I don't have any historical tidbits about Queen Square in Bath, although directly behind me is the Francis Hotel, which is probably the poshest hotel in Bath, and that's saying something. But yeah, other than that, I've got nothing. So yes, Begonia. In my last acting prediction video, I listed Jesse Plemons as my favourite for lead actor, and that has not changed. But I think that this is more a case of this is my personal feeling. Well, it was already this case, but I think it's now confirmed now I've actually seen it. But this is a thing that I personally think that Jesse Plemons deserves the Best Actor Oscar. I mean, even an Oscar nomination, because I don't think that's guaranteed. But I'm not sure many other people will, because Jesse Plemons is going completely off the wall in this one, which he is fully capable of doing, and I think he does it very, very well. And he does it well in Begonia. He's got a kind of almost cult leader vibe to him. He's got his cousin, who, I mean, it wasn't clear in any of the publicity, but his cousin is clearly mentally challenged, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. How the representation doesn't feel very, very positive in that case. But I mean, his cousin is mentally challenged, and Jesse Plemons has convinced his cousin of these conspiracy theories. And I find it very interesting that it's one of those things that has a countdown, because there's a lunar eclipse imminent, which in Jesse Plemons' mind, this is when the aliens will come. So there's a countdown to when the lunar eclipse is, but when we go to the graphic, when we go to the inserts for this countdown, it's a flat Earth, which I thought was a very, very nice little detail. But yeah, I mean, he's a conspiracy theorist who has convinced himself that the aliens are here, and Emma Stone is one of them, and Emma Stone maybe is even the leader of these aliens. And I think it's also significant that Jesse Plemons blames Emma Stone for the death of his mother. Played in flashback by Alicia Silverstone, a very, very small role. I think she has sort of like one speech. It's a very, very small role. And those are the only moments really when the flamboyant style of Yorgos Lanthimos comes to the fore, because it's a reasonably straight-laced film, albeit it's got comedic moments because Jesse Plemons is so crazy, and everyone can see he's crazy apart from his, mentally challenged cousin. There are comedic moments, there are absurdist elements to this film, but at the end of the day, it's kind of a tragedy. I mean, I think Jesse Plemons is clearly mentally ill. I think it's a folie à deux situation, because in these flashbacks it is very, very clear that Alicia Silverstone is very, very mentally ill. She has issues, and she's kind of the legacy of that has gone down to Jesse Plemons. I think it's kind of a folie à deux situation. So it's very much related to his mother, and it's the situation regarding his mother, the issues that his mother had, which is why Jesse Plemons has latched onto this agro company or chemical company. I'm not exactly sure what the company is, some kind of chemical company, and that's why Jesse Plemons became obsessed with Emma Stone and dragged his mentally challenged cousin in with him. Yeah, I'm fascinated by the dynamic of the two lead characters. I mean, the crazy person and his cousin here. Whereas in the South Korean original, Fear of a Green Planet, I think it's called, it was a crazy person and his meek girlfriend. I think now I've seen Begonia, I think I'm going to check out, was it Death of a Green Planet, Fear of a Green Planet, whatever it's called. I'm going to check it out. I might even add a little review into this video you're currently watching. But yeah, I'm kind of fascinated by that, because the themes of this film are very there. It's an environmentalist film. It's a film about rampant capitalism. I find it very, very interesting that, yes, Jesse Plemons is playing a crazy person. He's clearly well off the reservation. But he says something which I actually kind of agree with. And that's, he says something along the lines of, even if Emma Stone isn't an alien, she's still evil because she's head of this capitalist system. She's exploiting the working people. She's throwing money at situations instead of actually solving them. There's a running gag that she is forced to say that her employees can leave at 5:30. If you don't have work to do, I mean, if your conscience allows you, you can leave at 5:30. And there's one line about incidents in the past. I mean, basically, it looks like she's been working. She's a workaholic, and she expects everybody to be a workaholic. which is a problem. I mean, there's lots of stuff about corporate greed and environmentalism. There's the thing about the bees, which Emma Stone rightly points out at one point. The bees are coming back. We've kind of solved that one. Slowly, but they are coming back. It's not so much of an issue as it was. So part of Jesse Plemons' philosophy as an apiarist himself is, the hive mentality kind of thing. And it's not entirely, well, it's part of his delusion. I mean, the whole bee thing is part of his delusion, and the bee thing doesn't necessarily work anymore, or it isn't as much of an issue anymore. So there is problems there. But I mean, it does build into the environmentalist aspects of this, and it's got absurdist trappings. It's got moments of humour, or certainly things which can be found humorous. It's a black comedy. But ultimately, I think this is a horror film with very, very few tweaks. You can make a horror film out of this. Crazy person, delusional crazy person, kidnaps somebody that he blames for something, which she probably didn't do, almost certainly didn't do. I mean, she's almost certainly not an alien, so it's a crazy person. But with very, very few tweaks, you can make this a horror film. And there are some moments, even some scenes towards the end of this film, which are genuinely horrifying in a proper horror movie type way, or a thriller type way. I mean, it's kind of like, if you classify something like Silence of the Lambs as a horror movie, then there are scenes towards the end of this which do lead into that. So this is a fascinating film. I did really, really like it. I mean, like I said, I've been looking forward to this for a while. I firmly believe in Jesse Plemons. He is going to remain my personal number one choice, even though I know it's a fool's errand. I know he's probably not even going to get nominated, but I think he's going to deserve to get nominated. I think he was excellent in this. I think Emma Stone is very, very good. I mean, I haven't seen many of the best actress contenders yet. Chase Infinity is apparently going to be leading actress for One Battle After Another. I think I would take Emma Stone over Chase Infinity. I'm not sure how many of the leading actress contenders I've seen, but I think she is going to be a strong contender as well. And screenplay, I think, adapted screenplay, I think is a definite shout as well. But this was an interesting one, and I'm really, really fascinated to see the Korean original now. But I think on my scale of yay, nay or meh, this is another yay. I have been looking forward to it, and it did not disappoint me. I really, really like Begonia. I don't think it's a really strong Oscars contender, unfortunately. But I really enjoyed it. It's going to be fascinating seeing what, if any, nominations it gets. So, it is now the day after my first trip to Bristol, and as I suggested in my Begonia review, I have just finished watching Save the Green Planet, and I thought it was worth including my thoughts on the original now I've seen the remake. But before I get onto that, a quick clarification of something I said last night. Actually, by the time I finished, it was probably this morning. I was that late back in Bath. But yes, a clarification. The actor who plays Donnie, the cousin of Jesse Plemons, is a man named Aidan Delbis, who is on the autism spectrum. Now, I got confused because when I've been doing all my Oscar prediction stuff and Oscar preview stuff, it's always been Jesse Plemons as the leading actor and Stavros Halkias as the supporting actor. And not really knowing who Stavros Halkias is other than he's a Greek comedian, I assumed that the second most important male character in the film was Stavros Halkias, when he isn't. It is actually Aidan Delbis, and he is actually on the autism spectrum. So, yes, I do appreciate that the performer of that character has the same issues as the character he is playing. I still think it's not the greatest representation that this person on the autism spectrum is manipulated into committing some pretty heinous acts by his very mentally ill cousin. I still don't think that's great representation, but at least the performer does have the same issues as the character. So that's an improvement in my eyes. Now I've figured that out. And actually, I think the character of Stavros Halkias in Begonia is a good place to start, because one of the main differences between the two versions of this story is that the Stavros Halkias character in Begonia is the local sheriff or deputy. He's in law enforcement. And he's barely in the film. I mean, there's 3 scenes maybe. He has very, very little to do. Whereas in the Korean original Save the Green Planet, that character, Detective Chu, is a much, much more significant player in the grand scheme of the plot. Arguably, he's the second most important, well, the third most important male character after the kidnapper and the kidnappee. Whereas it's just not the same in Begonia. So, I mean, if early people who were looking at Begonia were saying, oh, Stavros Halkias is playing the policeman, I can easily see that people would say, oh, he must be the major supporting push. And the fact apparently he's a big deal in Greece, which, I mean, I don't know, I've never heard of it. So, yeah, I mean, I think that was where the misconception came in. But it is a much more expansive film than Save the Green Planet. There's a lot more characters. There's a lot more stuff going on outside the basement where the kidnapping is taking place. I mean, I think that this has really focused for me the fact that Begonia is very, very much a battle of wills between Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. Whereas Save the Green Planet, they're much more concerned with, actually finding out who's kidnapped this guy. The investigation side of it is much more important in Save the Green Planet, where we really don't get any of that, or not much of that, in Begonia. So, I mean, I did find that interesting. And I also think that in the Korean original, the environmentalist message and the anti-capitalist message aren't nearly as strong. I think that is woven deep into Begonia, is the environmentalist and anti-capitalist message, whereas in Save the Green Planet, there's a lot less of that. And it's basically a different angle, because right from the beginning, as soon as the kidnapping has taken place, once they get this chemical CEO into the basement, you see a little notebook and he says, Kang Man Shik, subject 13. So we know right from the beginning that this guy has done this at least 12 times before. So it's a pattern, and not necessarily one that is connected to environmentalism or anti-capitalism. And over the course of the film in Save the Green Planet, it becomes increasingly apparent that a lot of what this guy is doing is very much a personal vendetta. And that's not at all what's going on in Begonia. So yeah, I mean, I think the angles are very, very different. It's also less about the severe mental illness that the mother has. I mean, yes, the mother does have issues in the Korean version, but Alicia Silverstone in Begonia sort of hangs like a pall over this whole thing. I mean, her severe mental health issues have deeply impacted Jesse Plemons, and we can see that. Whereas it's not quite the same in Save the Green Planet. And yeah, it's interesting seeing the original and seeing where it goes. And I think the intensity has been ramped up for Begonia. I think it is very much about environmentalism and anti-capitalism. And as I said in my review last night, it's basically a horror movie. Whereas I don't think Save the Green Planet is. I mean, yes, horrific things happen in it, but it's more kind of an outsider film. It's kind of wacky more than anything, I think, albeit with some extreme violence. So yeah, seeing the two days after each other was quite interesting. I also found it weird that there's an extended 2001 parody in Save the Green Planet, which was odd. Not sure that was necessary, but it's there. A lot of use of Somewhere Over the Rainbow in Save the Green Planet. And actually, that's something I didn't mention last night, is the needle drops in Begonia are top notch. I mean, one particular scene has Basket Case by Green Day in it, which was also in the trailer. But the needle drop of Basket Case, that was something in Begonia. Whereas in Save the Green Planet, it's different versions, different cover versions of Somewhere Over the Rainbow in English, which I think was kind of interesting. But yes, I think that's enough. This is only a little sort of bonus feature in this video about my trips to the London Film Festival in Bristol. And now we shall go on to what I will be recording this coming Friday. Right, so it is a week later than the previous stuff in this video. Friday night at the Harbourside area of Bristol. Unfortunately, it's only 7 PM, so there's not too many drunks about. But yes, I'm in the Harbourside area of Bristol, having come over here after watching my first two films at the Bath Film Festival. Rental Family and If I Had Legs I'd Kick You. But I'm over here for the third and final film I'm seeing at the touring programme of the London Film Festival here in Bristol. And I'm standing in front of a rather notorious plinth. In this plinth behind me used to stand the statue of Edward Colston, who was a slave trader. And Bristol got very large and very rich off the slave trade, and for a while there was not really an issue with that, and Edward Colston got his name on many buildings around here. I mean, I'm standing right in front of what used to be Colston Tower. Right around the corner over there is the premier classic music venue in Bristol, which used to be Colston Hall. That's been changed to the Bristol Beacon, and now this is Beacon Tower. And yeah, it was kind of extraordinary and kind of funny to see Edward Colston's statue dragged down during the Black Lives Matter protests and dumped in the harbour. And yeah, we're kind of over there, and I've just noticed, I mean, I haven't actually looked at it for quite some time. I just know that it's there and it's not been filled, but there's now a plaque on it saying in 2020 the statue is torn down. which I think is kind of cool actually. But yeah, there you go, another brief look into Bristol's history, both modern and ancient. Stuff I can easily do within walking distance of the, well, short walking distance of the Watershed cinema. So yes, I've got a little bit of time to kill before my screening of Hamnet, and I will record once I have seen that very, very Oscar baity film. Okay, so it is late night Friday in Bristol, and I've come out of my final screening for tonight, and my final screening this year at the touring programme of the London Film Festival in Bristol. You can't find me sat in St James's Park, which is not in Newcastle or Exeter for that matter. It's a tiny little bit of green that used to be St James's Priory churchyard, and now is just a little bit of park just in front of Bristol bus station. I mean, I don't know if you can see that directly behind me with the lighting, but what looks like a church building behind me is now an event space. Oh, we're so secular here in England. But anyway, yeah, just seen Hamnet, and there are aspects to that which I wasn't necessarily expecting. For a start, it's a little bit more mystical than I was anticipating. I mean, there's heavy implications of witchcraft. I mean, not sort of like Hubble Bubble Toil and Trouble, which does actually get name drops in this, which is actually kind of cute, because his three kids do the three witches. I mean, that's basically the only way we know that Shakespeare's actually a successful playwright. I mean, there's very, very little of Shakespeare as playwright in this. But Jessie Buckley is the daughter of, you know, a forest witch who came out of the forest, married this guy in Stratford, and for generations down the line this has happened. They've gone into the forest, given birth to a daughter, and come back out and married somebody. And yes, Jessie Buckley makes a very conscious decision to, as she's given birth to her first child, she goes into the forest to do it. So there's aspects of sort of like hedge magic, I think it is probably the best way to describe it. You know, a wise woman, you know, knowing the herbs, knowing the poultices, knowing the incantations to help somebody in a pre-enlightenment world, I mean a pre-scientific world. But you can't stop the plague, and that's what Hamnet eventually does of her only son, or at least during the course of this. I don't think they had any more children after this, but certainly her firstborn son dies of the plague. And yeah, I mean that's another thing I wasn't necessarily expecting. I mean, Jessie Buckley is very, very good, as is indeed is Paul Mescal. I mean, I thought early in this process that Stellan Skarsgård was going to be an absolute shoo-in for Best Supporting Actor. Don't think that's the case anymore. I mean, we're seeing Sentimental Value at the Film Bath Festival next Friday, I think. Well, certainly I'm seeing it at the Bath Film Festival. So I will make my personal decision then. But yeah, Paul Mescal's really, really good in this as well. But Jessie Buckley is the standout. I mean, this is not just a woman grieving. This is a woman who is utterly destroyed by grief, utterly consumed by grief. And wanting to lash out, she lashes out at the obvious thing, saying to her husband, "You weren't here." I mean, because they're all in Stratford, he's off in London being a playwright. They kind of lived separate lives for long portions of their lives. And whether that was amicable or not is unclear. I mean, I once knew a couple who, the family lived in North Wales, and for work, the father lived in London, and he only ever saw his family at weekends, and they made that work for years. So it can be done, the kind of long distance relationship can be done. But when you have this grief, when you have this thing which will naturally split up a couple, I mean, the statistics about couples staying together after the death of a child, they're not good. And when there's already this thing saying you weren't here, even though, as portrayed in the film, Agnes encouraged her husband to go to London, you know, be who you were meant to be, live your dream. She was encouraging him, but still, the son dies, and that's the obvious friction point. So I mean, this is a woman being destroyed by grief, and also a marriage being destroyed by grief, and it's really, really well portrayed. And I think this would, or could have been, a somewhat ordinary, a somewhat mundane story even. I mean, you could have seen a similar type of story, I mean, not necessarily about Shakespeare, but a similar type of story on the Hallmark Channel or something. You know, dealing with grief, the death of a child, absent husband, how do you cope? You could easily do a really maudlin, really saccharine story like that. And this could have been that too, except that Chloe Zhao directs the shit out of this one. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that we've got one battle after another and Paul Thomas Anderson is due, I think Chloe Zhao might get herself another Oscar for this, because the tone, the approach, the style, the framing of everything, it's really, really well done. I mean, there's lots and lots of imagery of nature in this. I mean, throughout Chloe Zhao's career, in The Rider, in Songs My Brothers Taught Me, in Nomadland, one of the things she does, or one of the things she seems to be interested in, is the vast open vistas of the American West, or Midwest, I guess, because I think the first two were shot in Dakota, one of the Dakotas. But you know, the landscape, nature, is part of her directing style, and that's the same here, except here it's not the vast open prairies and vistas of the American West. Here it's the forests of England, it's the forests of the Midlands in England. I mean, as I said, I mean, Jessie Buckley is portrayed as this kind of hedge witch, this kind of forest witch, but therefore the forest, nature, becomes part of the story, and Chloe Zhao makes sure that is part of the story. And the tone, the approach, the cinematography, the framing of everything, I mean, it's really, really done well. I mean, you could have done this and just made it dull, but Chloe Zhao made it beautiful. I mean, powerful, emotional. I mean, the girl sitting next to me was sniffing for the second half of the film. I'm not sure if it's she's got a cold or if she was holding in the tears, but I could have gone either way. I mean, it's powerful, emotional stuff. I mean, there's certain pieces of acting by both Jessie Buckley and Paul Mescal which are exceptional. I mean, Paul Mescal gives the "to be or not to be" monologue, and just after the death of his son, his only son, that has some weight, that has some gravitas to it. And that is really, really powerful stuff. I mean, continuing the tradition from last year or the last couple of years. I mean, Clarence Macklin in Sing Sing did an exceptional version of the To Be or Not to Be speech, and Adam Driver in Megalopolis didn't.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against the sea of troubles, and by opposing, end them. To die, to sleep. And by a sleep to say, we end the 1,000 natural heartaches that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly wished, to die, to sleep. To sleep. Perchance. Perchance. Line.
To be or not to be? That is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die. To sleep no more. And by a sleep, to say we end the heartache and the 1,000 natural shocks that flesh is heir to. Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep. To sleep. Chance to dream. Ah, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death where dreams may come when we have shuffled off this mortal coil, must give us pause.
But yeah, I think Paul Mescal in Hamnet has them both beat. I mean, that is really, really powerful. I mean, yes, it's on the nose, but in a certain way, this whole film is on the nose. It's very, very direct. It's very, very clear about what its themes are, what its angle is. So, yeah. It is a pretty obvious thing to do, but Paul Mescal pulls it off remarkably well with the assistance of Chloe Zhao as director. So yeah, I think this is a powerful piece of work. I mean, I think, yes, Jessie Buckley is going to win Best Actress. I think Paul Mescal has a very, very strong chance of winning Best Supporting Actor. Maybe adapted screenplay, which is, well, neither of the screenplay categories are. I mean, there's nothing that really stands out in either of the screenplay categories. So why not Hamnet? As far as Best Picture goes, I don't think I would be surprised if this won, but I don't think it would be my choice. I think of the contenders I've actually seen so far, I think I would take one battle after another over this. But right now, I think my favourite is Sinners. I mean, as a personal choice. I mean, not what I think will win. I mean, that's the tricky thing when doing predictions like this. It's not what you want to win, it's what you think will win. And I make sure to do a bit of both when I do my final predictions. But I think this might actually win. Hamnet might actually win, but my choice at the moment would be Sinners. But still, I think Hamnet is an excellent film, maybe even an exceptional film. So yeah, on my scale, I think Hamnet is a yay. So thinking back to last week, I think that makes all three films I'm talking about in this video, well, not including Terror of a Green Planet, but the three films I actually saw at the Watershed, I think they were all yays. So yeah, the London Film Festival knows what it's doing, and it knows what films to send out to the provinces. So yeah, really, really good stuff. But speaking personally, don't think I want it to win Best Picture, but it's still, in my rating system and my ranking system, it's still a yay. So that brings us to the end of this video diary / out of the cinema reactions / history lesson of my trip to the London Film Festival in its touring programme in Bristol. This is the first of many of these types of videos I'm planning to do. I'm currently attending 17 films in 9 days during the course of the Bath Film Festival. In fact, as soon as I finish recording this, I'm heading off for day 3 of the Bath Film Festival. But I'm also going to the Cambridge Film Festival, the Leeds International Film Festival, and the Manchester Animation Festival. So 3 more festival trips to try and gather up as many of the Oscar contenders, particularly the international Oscar contenders, as I can. And yes, I hope you enjoy them. But I'm guessing that if you watched this for instance video, you did to some degree enjoy this video. So maybe I deserve a like. You can also leave a comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell, do anything which helps the algorithm promote this tiny, tiny little channel. But for right now, because I need to head off to some Bath Film Festival screenings, that is where I leave you. And all that remains for me to say is this has been a presentation of the Yay, Nay or Meh channel, and I will see you next time where I shine a light on TV and cinema, both obvious and obscure.